love it. Well, first, I have to, as we say, introduce you. Let me see if we are.
You have to scroll back.
Hold on a second. Wait for it. It's like modern technology, and I'm like I said, I'm not a techie, but hold on. I think therefore I is, or therefore. Oh, there we go. Okay, good. Now we are. Okay. And we are. Let's see. Yes, perfect. Well, one, we have to introduce the world to our dear brother, Marty Haberer, a brother from another mother. Truly, that, and you can ask Marla that you and I were separated at birth. and and we were brought back into our lives exactly when we were guided to be brought back into our lives, and beshert. No coincidences, no randomness, no right place at the right time. It was beshert.
Kind of
And
like Schwarzenegger and DeVito, but I'm going to leave it to the audience to determine which one is which.
Ah, that's good. Hey, you know they're coming out with another one.
The
They're
twins.
They're adding Eddie Murphy to the tribute.
Oh,
Oh, that's
so
funny.
who's the third?
That's funny.
Are we counting me in?
But
well, with you, we're more like the Mod Squad,
I like that. I'll take the Mod Squad.
right?
Absolutely. I just got to get my hair a little poofier.
And you'd be Link. Yeah. And you're Julie. Yeah.
Well, one, I want to take us back because normally, I speak for 9 hours or a long weekend and much longer when we get together, but we're going to have you share your story. But I want to preface, because sometimes, as my wife says, we have selective memory or selective hearing. So I'm going to preface our meeting. The very first time we came in, we met prior to you receiving your intention stick. And again, divinely guided, we think we're in control of our lives. We say, what makes God laugh? Telling him your plans, right? So we thought we were meeting for a reason, and it was. But fast forward, I call you one afternoon. I said, Marty, you need to come in. Marla and I would really love to share something with you. And you're like, okay, I'll come in at 4 in the afternoon. I'm long, busy day. You come in. I'm telling you all about, and this is going back how many years? This is probably right at the very beginning. Like, you were one of the very first to receive an intention stick. This is going back.
You're a man of 22. Today is the 11th. Today happens to be my exactly 5-year anniversary on the job. I started on May 11th, 2015. So 5 years ago today.
Wow.
Yeah, and we've talked about 11, so you know.
Of course. 11, validation, angels, blessings. So you come in. You said, yep, I can make it about 4 o'clock. I'll come in. I think you were there with us for what, hour and a half. And I said, this is a gift from Marla and I. And you chose, of course, we did blessings together as we always do. And you chose one word and you left. You didn't tell us what you chose. You left. I'm like, okay, he'll figure it out. Great. You left. A week goes by, at least. I get an email from you saying, wow. I do not know what this is. I don't know if this is a placebo or a religious item, but I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, is what you said to me. Yeah. And I didn't even read the rest of the letter. And I called you and I said, Marty, what's going on? And you start to tell me that day you came in, you were having a very challenging day. A big donor had given, written out a check or something, and it didn't go through, but you put in the word blessed. And you also said someone had left a position that was working with children's groups and other groups, and that person had left. And you put in the word blessed. And you left the office, and you said that day I got back to the office, I sat down, and within 5 minutes the phone rings. And it was this beautiful donor saying, so sorry about the misunderstanding. come pick up this beautiful donation. You said you were so excited that you leapt up out of your chair and you were skipping. Well, okay, yeah, I know. I get so excited. Okay, I can tell, but I'm bringing back. So yes, I'm pausing because you know me. I'm the fifth child here, so I'm going to let you take it from there. So yes, please.
Yeah, I think the key to what you're talking about though was, and again, the magic of what you guys stumbled onto, that the big word is intention. And, you know, we can debate, and we have debated. We've talked about, like, do you really need the physical thing? And I think for a while you do. But I think as you summon your inner strength to intention, it's not about a thing. It's about focus. And what this does, what the intention stick did for me, you know, at that time in the beginning, was, I told you, to me it reminds me, it has very much the same elements of what a mezuzah has on a door. I am not a Shomer Shabbat guy. I'm not an observant Jew, although I've got 12 years of yeshiva behind me, so I know the ideas. But I always tend to kiss the mezuzah, even when there isn't one on a door, because for me, the act of kissing the mezuzah is reminding me all the time that there's something bigger than me that controls everything. And it's about being grateful to that power. And that's what the mezuzah does. So carrying this is literally like carrying a doorpost on your heart all the time. And so I'm, you know, literally kissing the mezuzah 24/7 while this is on me, because what it does is it reminds me that the power that is so much deeper and bigger than me and all of us is sitting with me, hovering on me. And the intentions, as you mentioned, the words that you put in, the things that you want, which of course you always want, not for yourself, but also everything that you want in, you want out, right? For everybody else as well. And yeah, the magic there was I had just come into my new position as the CEO and president of the Federation. I had a lot of pressures on me, some, as you mentioned, fundraising pressures, some were personnel pressures, and I almost felt this thing like almost warm on me, and literally like these incredible things started happening. I mean, I bumped into Kelly Harris, who has moved on to bigger and better things and is now in Dallas, but was, you know, became magically like popped in out of thin air with a story that we could tell, but really don't have to get into the details, but just happened to fall into my lap and became a terrific builder of our Now Gen program for young Jewish people here, and other things we talked about. And then there were other moments along the way where I had issues where Marla reminded me about the importance that sometimes if we're trying to be loving and selfless, we are literally being selfless and we're not taking care of the self. And it was really Marla who reminded me that, you know, you have a responsibility to take care of yourself. So even though the folks that are on this didn't see our initial thing about working out and getting in shape, we owe it to ourselves too. It goes back to the Hillel quote of, Im ein ani li mili, if I'm not for me, who will be for me? But if I'm only for me, who am I? And if not, now when? And so the idea of I've got to be for me too. And it was Marla who reminded me as I was limping around with back pain, I could barely move. And she said, you know, you're not telling yourself enough that you love yourself. And that's when you, Scott, introduced me to this incredible app, a meditation app. And it, you know, to me, it sounded a little bit corny in the beginning, like to say to yourself, I love me. I love me, you know, and it's a little weird, but when you do it, you come to realize I haven't said that to myself in a really long time. And it is hard to love other people and to nourish other people if you're running on empty. So part of that lesson, which was like sort of our phase 2 meeting, was, you know, remember yourself. Because if you give away the whole candy store, you got nothing else to give. It's like the giving tree, right? If you give away every limb and everything, all you got is the stump to sit on. So you've got to have something to give, and to do that, you have to take care of yourself. So that's actually interesting for people who sometimes really want to devote their lives to loving and giving others and being selfless. You can actually lose sight of the fact that it's okay, and it isn't necessarily bad to love yourself a little bit and to take care of yourself, because you need to do that. So that was a great lesson. And then another lesson that you guys, there's been so many of them, but one of the great lessons as you guys stepped in was the lesson of I'll call this the chapter of the crickets. When I started telling you about these crickets and how I was killing crickets in my house, and you were like, "You are not killing crickets," and I'm like, "Yeah, I am. It's a bug. It's in my house." And you were telling me about the spiritual value of crickets and how they're singing to you. Actually, is them coming to you and healing you. And if you ask my wife Lori, she will tell you, since that day, I have never killed another cricket. I rescue crickets. If I see them in my house, I put them in a jar. I put them outside. I'm like, do not kill a cricket. She's like, well, why not another bug? I'm like, I don't know about other bugs. And maybe other bugs have properties too. But I'm telling you, the cricket thing, let it sing. Let it sing. Let it heal my joints. Let it heal my, let it heal. So that was cool. And then, of course, all the healing that goes on, which without getting a lot into it, into our own children and our families and all the things that we need, because we're all human too. And so back to what we originally talked about during this time of a paradigm change of our souls living in something different than we lived in 2 months ago. To me, it really doesn't matter what cards you're dealt in this world, right? Occasionally you'll be living in a world where, look at the beautiful, if you turn around your beautiful walls there and your beautiful artwork, you can live like that. But I suspect the two of you would live equally the same kind of life if you were sitting in front of a garbage can on the Bowery together. You would still be in the same thing. So my point is, it doesn't really matter that you've got this incredible background behind you. What it matters is that you are who you are. And if you're consistent with that, that doesn't change regardless of what the background, thing that you have. That's given to us, but we control how we behave in all situations. And so whether we're in situations where we have to socially distance ourselves, or the economy isn't what it was, or there's job loss, those things change. Jobs change, ability to get to certain kinds of food change, but how we behave in all situations, whether, God forbid, we're sitting in Poland circa 1930 something in Warsaw, or whether it's in the most prosperous time in Phoenix 3 months ago, or whether we have the most amount of money we ever had in our IRAs, or whether we're completely bankrupt after a depression, the only thing we control is how we behave and how we love other people and how we make decisions about being ethical and about whether we're going to share ourselves with other souls or whether we're just going to live internally.
That's so beautiful. And wow, thank you for sharing that. And yes, as you said, there's been many, many beautiful blessings and stories we've shared together, and this beautiful journey that we're on together. And I want to go back to what you said, and it's what Marla and I, as you do know, we speak about every day, is that we cannot possibly give what we do not have. And that's so beautiful, just to remind everyone that gives 24/7 of themselves, which most people do, and especially the moms or a single parent, or as we talk about every day, the doctors, the nurses, the first, again. But if we don't stop for just some moments to take care of ourselves, as you said, we become so depleted and we cannot give what we do not have. So that is such that beautiful reminder, repairing our own vessels, tikkun ulam, right? To fill ourselves back up, which is, you and I know, and Marla have spoken about this, the most difficult thing to achieve in this lifetime is love for ourselves, unconditional love, to truly, and I said, I know it wasn't easy for you because you're looking at me like, what do you mean I need to look in the mirror and say I love you to myself? You're looking at me like, who is this guy? And that's why this spirituality, this awakening right now, for the first time, people are having to look inside themselves to really see who they are. And like you said, Marty, to love yourself for I am that I am. We're all made, we say God, the universe, the source light, we're all perfect just who we are, but we have to tell ourselves that I love you, because if we don't love who we are, how can we possibly love another?
And I'll go a step further. And, again, I've thought about it over the years, but it's never been more poignant for me than now, which is, if you really don't like yourself or you don't love yourself, how can you expect for other people to love you? It's not just about loving other people, but if I want you to love me, if I want you to go around and say, Marty's a great guy, if I don't believe that, why would you believe it? And so it has to start with me believing that, not in an ego way, but in just a, just in an objective manner. I've got to like me, I've got to love me, and I've got to take care of me for you to feel those things about me. And I think a lot of people that suffer from, we've talked about the horrendous suicides and things that are going on in the world. And a lot of those things start with people who really haven't taken the time to like themselves, to get to know themselves, to figure out what their strengths are, to figure out what their purposes are. Because if they like themselves, even a little, then other people are going to start to like them too. But that deficiency begins with the deficiency of you're not taking the time to be in relationship with yourself.
Yes.
And that it's an important, obviously I didn't know where we were going to head there today, but that's a big message. This will be this chapter. The other was the cricket chapter. This is the chapter of love thyself. Love thyself.
And just you and I and Marla have had this. It says in every spiritual and every religious book in the world, or every culture, every book says the same thing. It says, love your brother and your sister like you love yourself. And that is to truly love who you are, so you can, like you just said, love others and others can love you. Because again, that's the mirror image of ourselves. We all come into this world as a broken vessel, and we're here to repair our own vessels. And if we're putting out, which now, love and kindness and gratitude and health and compassion and light, and only more comes back into our lives. And if we're putting out worry or stress or anxiety or fear, only more of that comes back into our lives. And I love that you said it's that doorpost you get to carry on your heart, your chest, that reminder that you're going to achieve. You're going to wake up that morning with that intention of just that you set, that you live by. And that is that reminder for the world. That is that message to share with the world, because as you also said, everyone in this world is going through something. And if they're not in a mean way, we say you're lying, because we just push it down and say, oh, I'm fine. It's okay not to be fine. We're human. And those I'm not fines brings us to the next place in our lives, and it makes us who we are. So again, it's a gift. And wow, the gifts you've given Marla and I with your stories and your journey and your beautiful family and the community, and just we're witnessing that beautiful light being spread amongst the world. And it's miraculous.
And everything you're speaking is the oneness, is the tree of life, right? Because like you said, we cannot give peace away if we don't have peace for ourselves. We cannot give love away if we don't have love for ourselves. We can't give kindness away if we don't show kindness to ourselves. And so, it's interesting because with the pandemic of what's going on, as Scott said before, it's giving us all the opportunity, yes, to stay home, but to truly know who we are and to open the door to within. And some people are really afraid to look within and to open that door because they're afraid of what they might find. And even people who are doing the charitable work don't want to look inside. Sometimes they're doing things to hide behind themselves, but truly need to look within to be authentic. And it's interesting because I'm not sure if you know this, but when you look up the word COVID-19 with regard to the coronavirus, when you look up co means together. When you look up the word vid, it's a Latin word meaning to see. And then you take 19, and 1 plus 9 is 10, which reduces to 1. And so what do we have? Together, see one. Together, see oneness. So there's no coincidences that we're going through this right now. And at a time that this is all needed, that we need to be speaking about all of this.
Yeah, it's so powerful. I mean, when you said that, I think about what we're taught in school, although probably our kids don't know this, but I always thought about that, e pluribus unum, out of the many, the one. And that's exactly what you just said, right? So it's out of the many, the one. And it's true. I mean, if you're not a fount, how can you offer anybody anything to drink? You have to be full in order to let somebody else drink, right? I mean, a mother has to be full to be able to feed her babies. I mean, so the reality is that, this was hard for me, that lesson of, you keep driving and you keep pushing and whatever, and you don't have to worry about yourself. You just keep, you'll be fine. Keep giving it away. But the reality is that, you're going to give better and more when you just spend that little bit of extra time also just making sure that you're doing a check-in.
Absolutely.
Making sure that you're physically healthy, mentally healthy, that you take some time, and I know you do, obviously, whatever your definition of meditation is, and I know you guys get that, but not everybody sits and says, shalom, but whatever their thing might be, but you do need to meditate, and you do need to find peace, and you do need to find time and kind of unwind, and just kind of get in touch. And I think that's been one of the gifts of this pandemic, is that it's forced us inside.
Yes.
And, and some people don't like to be inside by themselves, but I think some of us have learned that it's okay to be inside with ourselves and to actually even embrace being with ourselves a little bit. It's been big for me. I've recalibrated a lot of things because I've had a little bit more time to do those things with me, got to know myself, so I spend a little bit more time with myself. So
that's so spot on, Marty. It's as Marla said, looking within. It's very difficult, but it's allowing someone to be their authentic self, because this world, as we see, no judgment, because one, we're not judged. Who are we to judge someone? But it's allowing someone to really see who they are for the first time, because this world has been so programmed to think we need to make everyone in the world happy other than ourselves, because the more we try to make someone else happy and you still can't make that person happy, we end up becoming more miserable. So we need to speak our truth. We need to be our truth and share that with the world in regards to who you are. And everyone still thinks that comes from fear, because everyone is afraid to be their authentic self because they're worried about what someone else may think of them. And again, you are you. You don't need to be anyone other than who you are, because you're perfect just as you are, but we never trust that. And that's this gift that this world has received, is to really, for the first time, slow down, be present, and see who they are versus who the world's made them to be. And when we see who we are, which you and I and Marla and your family and our family knows very well, that we were given all of our tools, our gifts, the knowledge, the wisdom, the abundance, the platforms, which is to touch another soul, to help another person. And when we can have that soul to soul connection, and we get to fill that person up with what they need and watch them do the same thing for another, that's the bliss that we receive. And there's nothing else in the world that will give us that. By helping another, that is tikkun olam. That is preparing our vessel so we can help another brother and sister, which will heal and repair the world.
This has been really interesting. It's tested a lot of things. It's helped break a lot of old habits. I mean, and that even, I'll go to the basics of even what kind of food you put into your body. I mean, I'm eating very differently, and I never had the discipline to make those changes. Those changes have somewhat been forced upon us at this point, but it's caused me to cleanse, and now I don't have those addictions to sugar and to gluten and to all that other stuff that is so forced, in you all the time. And I see it. I actually see myself, okay, now I can go back to what's behind door number. No, I'm going to stay this way.
Yes.
And that's that's the learning, is not to go right back to what you knew before when given that opportunity.
And that's what happens with most people when they don't stay on that path, wind up back to the old ways.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing that.
Wow, that's such a beautiful
You
message.
know, again, as always with you guys, it just sort of blurts out. You know, there's no pre-thought, right? It just kind of just, you know.
You know, it's so funny. Again, I'm still laughing about the crickets. You know, again, we're not taught these things. And this is why it's so important that the knowledge that we all receive, we're all priests and rabbis and gurus and spiritual people and teachers and whatever you would like to label yourself. But when we receive that bit of information, we have to share that with someone because they may not have even realized, again, as simple as a cricket or whatever that may be, how important that is or what that's actually doing for you.
Nothing else. Marla has saved about 1,000 crickets in my house over the last.
It's true. It's true. And good for you for sharing that, because a lot of times people are afraid to talk about spirituality. And I want, not that it's, well, and this is our first of many, but the second most important thing we talked about, besides the unconditional love for ourselves, that's the most difficult thing to achieve in this lifetime. And we've talked about the second most difficult thing because it relates to your journey. And the second most difficult thing to achieve in this lifetime is forgiveness. Because we all carry everything from our past. And as hard as those things that may have happened to us in our life, even when we were children, or on the journey, or in business, or whatever that may have been, that we have to forgive and let that go and send it with love. Because if we don't, those things are going to come out somehow. They're going to overflow. They'll come pain, God forbid, sickness. But as hard as it may be to forgive someone that may have hurt us, we have to forgive them, let it go, send it with love. And why I'm saying that is because if our vessels are so full of our past, and we're saying, but I'm being so good, and I'm going to church or synagogue or temple, and I'm doing acts of kindness, but the new things that we ask for in our lives, the blessings that we ask for, we don't receive because our vessels are so full of the past. They just overflow until we learn not only to forgive others, but to forgive ourselves. Because as you said
that's
earlier,
the one you guys remind me. Learn to forgive yourself. Hard enough to forgive others.
yes,
Really hard to truly forgive yourself. To really say, "I forgive you." You know. Yeah.
Marty, this is why we're talking tonight. It just, you sharing your story and bringing that up of self needs. The biggest self need is to forgive who we are or being so tough on ourselves our whole lives, because we never do. We have to say, I'm sorry, right? To us, right? And I love you, to us.
Yeah, and that was part of that meditation, is that forgiveness piece.
Yes,
Remember?
I love you. I'm sorry. So I'm going to share this, if you don't mind. So this was a meditation I shared with you, Marty, yes, about 3 years ago. And you did look at me like I'm crazy, but you said thank you, and you were very kind and polite. And I said it's a very ancient Hawaiian meditation. It's called the Ho'oponopono prayer. And in English, those words that you say, you're actually saying to yourself. And the words are, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and thank you. And it still gets me, when you realize how powerful those words are, and you say that over and over, again, I love you, please forgive me, I'm sorry, and thank you, they are so powerful. And that's right to your heart and soul. And it does fill you back up, and it does let the things go, and it does give you the kindness that you need to help continue to grow every day. And it's so beautiful. And that's why I love you, and Marla loves you and your family, because we get to share real stories that someone may not be comfortable having a conversation about because they never knew it was okay to talk about these things. Again, speak your truth, be who you are. And if someone doesn't, again, love you for who you are, that's okay. You can't change everyone, but again, at least you're being authentic, your authentic self. So you are and forever our brother, and your family is our family. And thank you for you filling our lives with the beautiful blessings that you continue to receive and to share with so many others. And you have shared with so many others. And that's the gratitude that we have in our hearts for you, and the love that we have, because Marla and I have said this a million times. You are as important to this as Marla and I, because this is about us collectively. And in the Talmud, what does it say? When you save one soul,
Save the world.
you save the world entirely. And we are. And our children and our grandchildren and our great-great-grandchildren will grow up living a life of intention and love and peace and kindness and gratitude, everything that we were given to share with this world. And this reset button that's been hit very hard, we only send those blessings and prayers to everyone in the world to receive, so that they can do the same thing for generations to come. So, wow. You're beaming right now. I see you filling up. That's our love. That's wow.
Well, always a pleasure. And again, thanks for reaching out again. And, we'll do some good things together.
We
Oh,
are.
yeah.
We love you. And
We love you,
as
Marty.
always,
Thank you.
sending blessings and intentions of gratitude, light, and love from Marla and I to you and your beautiful family and anyone who is seeing this. This is why we're all here.
All right. And I look forward to breaking bread together.
Oh, and a big hug. Marla said, actually, on a funny end note, that this virus, or whatever you want to call it, was created because of me, the over-hugger crybaby. And you're a hugger as well, so it's giving us a break from hugs, but I'm giving you the biggest hug. Virtual hug, my brother.
Virtual hugs.
Love you, love you, love you.
Love you too, guys.
All right, we'll see you soon.
Have a good night.
You too.